Letterboxd, Storygraph, Last.fm. These are some of the apps that I use to track the movies I watch, the music I listen to, and the books I read. But is it getting too much? Hi, I'm Jenni, and I have pneumonia. So if I seem off, that's why. But I wanted to talk about the fact that nowadays we track literally everything we do. The music we listen to, books we read, movies we watch, the exercises we take, our caloric intake, our sleep. We track everything. Of course, there are benefits to tracking everything. It can help you become motivated. It can teach you things about yourself that you wouldn't have known before. It can help you with your exercising routine, see what you do well, see where you can become better. It can tell you what type of reader you are and introduce you to new books and movies or types of exercise that you wouldn't have not known before tracking everything. For example, I have always loved watching movies, but I was never really consistent with it, meaning that I would say I love movies, but never really watched them unless I was going to the movie theaters to see a specific movie. So last year for 2024, I wanted to make an habit out of watching movies and be introduced to new movies. So I set the goal of watching a movie every week for last year, in the middle of January, I think. And to help with this goal, I set up a Letterboxd account to kind of keep track of every single movie that I watched in each month and try to find new movies as well. And I did watch a movie every single week of last year, which I think is wild. Honestly, I don't think I would have been able to do this watching a movie per week challenge without Letterboxd, because it was a process for me. Me and my partner choose a movie we want to watch that week. We watch it. I register it on Letterboxd, add my thoughts, maybe a short review and my star review of it. So it was really helpful when I wanted to add watching movies into my daily life. But one must think that, is this getting too much? Some people definitely feel so. I was searching this topic online, tracking everything and how people think about it, and lots of opinions came up. For example, on Reddit there was a discussion started by user favorite French fry 16 asking everyone if we are tracking things too much. One user who has since deleted their account said it got out of control once we could track our sleep, our exercise, our calories and our poop habits. But another user, Bearded Glass, said that keeping track of their health was very helpful. An opinion piece that was published on a university paper, Fordham Ram, written by Nora Malone in January 2024, so last year, notes that our internet activity is tracked anyway, so why do we add on to giving them even more information about ourselves by tracking everything? But then Malone notes that, using apps such as Letterboxd and different reading platforms offers people a way to connect with others who are also reading the same books or watching the same movies, which is very important engagement for the people who have published the movie or the book. And it's also a way to find similar-minded people who were also interested in the same media. But then Malone also says that it is necessary to put our phones away for once in a while. And I feel like that's a very generic take that is very common to say during these times, but it still rings true. Like, you do have to put your phone down at times. What I think is most important to note when it comes to tracking, that how quickly it can get out of hand and how careful you have to be that it doesn't get out of hand, because that way it can become harmful. For example, a couple of years ago, my mom got me an activity watch as a Christmas present, which tracked my steps, my sleep. I could put on it while I was doing some exercise, for example, yoga or taking a walk, and then it would count how active I was during that time, what was my heart rate, how many steps I took, and so on, and how many calories I burned during that exercise. And at first, it was just fun, it was interesting to see the numbers, but it quite quickly became harmful for me, because I would be too invested in it. Basically, if I hadn't reached my step count for the day, I would walk around our apartment to reach it. And if I didn't reach a certain goal during an exercise I did, I would feel awful about it. And I would do maybe another exercise to make up for it. Basically, it became harmful for me. So I eventually just put my activity watch away and deleted the app that I use for it and continued exercising without those. If you find this kind of tracking of exercising and calorie intake and how many calories you lost helpful, that's really great, but I personally cannot do it because it became way too harmful for me. And one has to consider the financial aspect of tracking everything. As I mentioned, the activity watches. If you want a good one, it will cost you a lot of money. Sure, you can get one for like 60 euros on a good sale, but to me 60 euros is still a lot. And as I looked up, most activity watches were around 100 euros. And then you then have to connect it to an app on your phone, and that's another way to get our data once again, and that kind of way. Even though we're not maybe transactioning money, we're giving our data, which is way more valuable to them anyways. But then also the platforms such as Letterboxd, Storygraph, Last.fm offer subscriptions, which then in return offer more stats based on your listening habits, reading habits, and movie watching habits. They have different features than on the free version, although the free versions I think are pretty good of each of those as well. So for example, I received an email from Letterboxd of my 2024 watching habits, and then at the end of the email it said, to unlock your full stats for 2024, upgrade to Pro now. However, there is this site that I know, at least Letterboxd is a smaller platform that really relies on subscriptions to keep it afloat. So if you do want to support a smaller company, that's fine. And then you get more data on yourself in exchange. But to have some of your data paywall does raise some questions in me. Why is information based on myself, based on what I have given you, paywalled, So I talked about how harmful tracking can become if you are not careful with it. Is there like a solution to not become too obsessive about tracking? Well, there was already an article in 2013, so over 10 years ago now, talking about how we are now tracking everything. How should you do it so that it doesn't become harmful? That was 10 years ago. That's wild to me. I would feel very cliche saying, well, just do everything in moderation, but that really is true. I think it's important to view tracking as a tool, not as the reason why we do things. For example, when I had that activity watch and I would exercise just so that certain numbers on my tracking app would look good. That's not good. Don't do that. And I think it's also good to practice kind of analog ways of tracking. For example, I write down every single book I read on Google Docs, and then I write my thoughts on them and my opinion on it. Nobody sees those. It's only for me, but it's a good way to keep track of the books I read and what happens in them and my opinion on them. Maybe I should write them down in a notebook to be more analog, but I don't know. And of course, if you notice or your loved one notices that your tracking has become harmful, do take that seriously and try your best to lessen it or cut it off from your life, because it can get harmful and it's not fun. The way that I have kept tracking my reading and movie watching as harmless and as a tool to help me be inspired and learn about new books and keep track of what I've been reading and watching is that I keep my circles on those platforms small. On Storygraph, I only follow my significant other. On Letterboxd, I only follow one friend, YouTuber Mike, and Jade. And my only follower is my friend. And that I think has helped me a lot as well. You know, back when I still had a Goodreads and I followed a bunch of people there, I did feel the pressure of reading many books. So I then deleted it and tried a new approach for Storygraph. And sure, yes, so using these type of social tracking platforms are a way to make friends and engage with others. So maybe keeping my circle small is a bit silly considering that. However, for me, it's a lot more helpful to do that than gain a bunch of followers on an app. And of course, since I talked about my activity watch, not using my activity watch has helped me a lot, and I don't feel as awful after my exercises if I don't do as much as I expected to, if that makes sense. I think my main takeaway is that just remember that tracking is supposed to be a helpful tool and nothing more. Okay, so what are your thoughts on tracking? Do you use different tracking platforms? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, a couple of things before I end here. 1, thank you so much for 300 subscribers. That's so unbelievable to me. I can't believe my channel has 300 subscribers. I'm so thankful for each one of you. I will try my best to deliver interesting videos about books and pop culture and society overall. The second thing is that, as I mentioned, I have pneumonia. And filming is a bit hard while having pneumonia. So if there isn't a new video next week, that's why. I'm still in recovery. Please be patient with new videos. I do have video ideas, but I need to be healthy for those. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye!